And they also have macro filters. And these are hands down one of my favorites. Never leave, like, don't leave home without it kind of things. There are three of them stacked right now, but I like to leave them all stacked, but you don't have to. And any of the lenses or optics that have the ridges, you just twist them in and voila, there's the Sol 45 that was turned into macro. So those are some cool Lensbaby options if you're looking for close-up images. All right, let's get into the techniques. These are the ones we're going to talk about tonight. I'll stop for questions after maybe each one or every other one. Yeah, we're going to go from there. All right. So reverse free lensing was my first kind of entry into close-up photography. And the deal with reverse free lensing, first of all, I recognize that if you have a mirrorless camera, you may not want to do this. Anytime you take your camera, you detach your lens from your camera body, there is a risk of getting something in there. Sand, dust, dirt, dog hair, whatever. There's a risk of things floating inside of your camera, which you probably don't want. So, completely respect if you're a mirrorless user and you don't want to explore this technique. I get it. At the same time, if you have an older camera, a film camera, a DSLR, that you would like to try on, this is how you do it. So, you take obviously the lens cap off. This is my Canon 5D Mark III, and I have a Canon 50 millimeter lens on here, just like the nifty 50, not even a fancy one. Um,
Hey Liz, not
yeah.
not to throw you off, but if you could close the presentation so they can see you
Oh
bigger
yeah,
on the screen. Would you mind stop sharing your screen and come back to that?
here
And then
I am.
pop back in. Yes, thank
Okay.
you so much.
Yep. I didn't know how big I was. So, moving list is okay. Okay. Anyway, sorry, I was trying to look at the chat. I need to not look at the chat and just focus in. Other people will
Got
see.
the chat.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. Okay, so um this is my 5D Mark III with a 50 millimeter lens. I would, before I take the lens off, kind of get an idea of what my settings are. I do all my settings manually, so I would set my ISO and set my shutter speed so I about know where I'm at with the light. Then I detach it, so I taking it off and flipping it around. Okay. And then I'm putting it right back on, right back on where it's supposed to be. So the deal is you have to hold it there. Um, and you hold it as tightly as you can. Um, and then you have to move your body to focus, and you can get pretty close. And so, well, I mean, it obviously depends on which focal length you're using. I like to use between 35 and 50 millimeters. But it takes a little playing around. It takes a lot of patience. And if you're afraid that like your hands are shaking too much, you can anchor your elbow on a table or anchor your shoulders against something so that you can hold still. That said, if you want to get a little crazy, add a little spunk to it, you can tilt the lens away from the camera body just a tiny bit. So I don't know if you can see. I mean, that's a lot. I'm doing that for instruction, but not, I would not pull it away probably that far, but you just tilt it a tiny bit away and you can get some little light leaks that are kind of like a film vibe. It'll almost look like if you're shooting into the sun, maybe or like a ray of light will come down through your camera. So it's getting a different kind of a vibe when you tilt the lens, and your focus will also change. So just be aware of that. Um, and I do free Lensbaby lenses. I like to use in fact, the other day, I mean, if you go to my Instagram, I just did one with a sweet 35. I like to use the Soul 45. The velvet lenses are a little heavier, so that's something you may want to consider if you're doing it, that you're going to have to be holding it on there. So weight is impactful. Um, and I do recognize that I know some Nikons are it's harder to free lens with, so I do recognize that it's not for everyone, but it's definitely something that you may want to try. I'm going to go back to my presentation and um we already talked about that one. These were all reverse free lens, by the way. You can see how like just the very tip of this one's in focus and all the rest um, is blurred out, which I love. So here is your exercise. This is your challenge to choose a non-windy day to prevent, if you're outside, to prevent things flying into your camera. Or choose climate controlled inside. Choose a lens and remove it from your camera body and flip it around, hold it close. And the challenge is to move your body to focus and to change your focus point 3 different times and see what kind of story you're telling, what kind of um, different vibe you're getting by changing your focal point. Okay, I am going to pause there. Were there questions about reverse freelancing? Somehow I lost the chat. Oh, cool. That's cool to know that there's a lens reversal adapter. That's neat. Yeah, try. Um, No, you can reverse free lens any. Someone asked if you can reverse only prime lenses. No, you can reverse free lens, but the I find the zoom lens are heavier, so I don't choose them just because of the weight, but you can. Um, Anybody else? All right, thank you guys for your questions. I'm going to go on to a little Omni magic. Um, Okay, Lensbaby has quite a few. I feel like I missed a page. Nope. Um, has quite a few different Omni options. I love them all. I have them all. And what they are basically different reflectors, prisms, crystals, um, these kind of things. These are different types of reflectors that you put in front of the camera lens to create some different effects. And I will talk about the different effects, and then I will just show you how I do it by unsharing my screen again. So the first one I'm going to talk about is this. This is the reflector. And you can see in these images, I use the reflector at the bottom of both of these images. Here I reflected some of this pretty sparkly bokeh. And the bottom of this scene was super boring and blah. So I just kind of added a little spunk and wonder there. And in this image, I actually reflected the sunset. So it added a little element again of color there. What could you use if you don't have a Lensbaby reflector? Well, you can always use a shiny surface. I've seen some people have super cool countertops. I personally do not, but I've seen super cool countertop reflections, or even vanities, in your bathroom. Window panes, if you can hold your subject up to a window and use that as a reflector. So there are other options to reflect. All right, here are a bunch of the different crystals. And there are many, many. I just put a few here just as examples, but that I love to use them for splash of light and a splash of color. Here, oftentimes I compose the subject to one side or the other and I fill in some of the blank area, not blank area, but the negative space with the Omni. Um, the expansion packs, these guys, you can shoot all the way through them. So you can place them. Oops, sorry. My helping hand got in the way. All the way across the front of your lens. To capture the light. And they work best, I think, for me, when you're shooting straight into the sun or close into the sun. Um, what else could you use? You can use prisms. My daughters happen to really love prisms, and they have them sitting on their windowsills in their rooms. And when the sunlight comes through, there's rainbows thrown everywhere. So that can be a really neat thing. You can use sequins on dresses that's sparkly. My daughter bought me a beaded pendant. You can use something like that. Anything that catches light. Okay. The next one is the Rainbow Omni film. And I obviously like to use it in the top, mostly in the top of my images. You can see here, I used it to add a little wonder to my lavender scene. Here, I was so excited a couple years ago that the grass was growing. And so I just laid down in it and put a little Omni magic there. This one's pretty subtle. But again, I used the negative space and added some color. This was all like greenish brown before, and so I added a little color with the rainbow film. The quilted films have become one of my favorites. And so if you see images of mine that have a lot of fun bokeh color, that's these guys. Um, I love to I usually try to coordinate the colors. You can see in the lilac that I kind of try to use a blue and purple, the blue and purple one. This one. Here, obviously, I used the orange one. This begonia was taken in in my kitchen sink. Um, I was I couldn't get the right angle on the countertop, and so I put it down into the sink and I reflect it. And so kitchen sinks also kind of reflect. And so I used the Omni to fill in the kitchen sink vibe with this orange glowy vibe. And I'm really excited about how that one turned out. This one of the hydrangea, I just used it at the top and I didn't really love what was going on at the top of this. And so I kind of used it almost to hide or to camouflage, not exactly completely blot out, but kind of draw away from what was going on up there. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing real quick and show you how I use these guys. Oftentimes, Lensbaby does have holders that screw onto some of the ends of lenses, and not just Lensbaby lenses, but other traditional kind of lenses as well. And they have magnets that hook onto these. And so it will hold the Omni for you. I like to handhold mine. So, if I'm using the quilted Omni, I just kind of cup it around and see where the light is going to catch it. And sometimes I turn it inside out. Sometimes I, put it up this way, up this way. But I am putting it kind of in front of the lens. I do the same thing with the crystals. And here's where your creative process can really flourish because there is an element of experimentation, of exploration, where you take the crystal and I just basically I hold it a little bit maybe in front of my lens, maybe like that. It's not right up to the lens, but it's not far away. Um, I use a relatively shallow depth of field. And then you can see it's catching light right there. But I just twist it until I find a color and sometimes I'm really patient with it, and I will just wait and wait and wait until the right second. And sometimes I'll just shoot, 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 and figure out at the end which one which color or which vibe or which piece bokeh I liked the best. So that I did want to show you this one. This is the repeater crystal, and that one's super, super fun. Um, but yeah, I mean, all of them are really a blast to use, and so that's how I usually do that. Um, yeah, my fingers are usually never in it. They do have these little handles, and I, yeah, my fingers are not don't usually get in it. I usually can keep them out of there. With this one, um, even then, I just hold it so that they're not. Um, let's see. Kathy says you do need a stronger light source. Thanks for being in there, Kathy. Yes, you do. You don't always need the sun. Um, and yeah, a lot of people in my previous webinars have said, do you use a tripod? No. Why? One, because I'm a control freak and I like to be able to move around and move my body and get down on the ground. And I know you can use tripods on the ground, but it's just one extra thing for me. And I just like to be free when I'm capturing things. So I do not use a tripod, but you certainly can. The helping hand you can buy on Amazon. I think it used to be on there. That's where I got it. Um, let's see. Yeah, so I think that answers those questions. Any other questions about Omni? Oh, aluminum foil. I love that. And um, speaking of aluminum foil, this is not aluminum foil, but it's better than aluminum foil. Lensbaby has also in one of their packs these cool kind of these guys. Well, and you don't want to reflect me, but you can reflect your subject using those. So, and some of them are translucent, so you can translucent? I don't know if that's the right word, but you can shoot through them anyway. Alrighty, some more messages. Oh, shower caps. That's a fun one too. Yeah, there are all kinds of things you can shoot through. I love these ideas. All right, I'm gonna head back to my presentation here. And so here's your exercise, and I've already really talked about this, but choose a Lensbaby Omni or something else that's shiny and sparkly and reflective. Move it in front of your lens and tilt the angle of it. Cover a small portion of the image, cover the whole image, and figure out which one you like the best and tells your story the most vividly that day. All right, the next one I'm going to talk about is shooting through. And it is a technique with close-up photography that I personally love because I think it adds a level of depth. And so what I encourage you to do is to find objects that are repeating. You can see the chives are repeating, the blades of grass are repeating. And focus on one of them that is in the middle, not the one that's closest layer that's closest to you, not the furthest away, but one that's in the middle. I do encourage you to choose a shallow depth of field so that the things in the front, the things in the back are blurry. However, one of the exercises or one of your challenges could be start at like f 2.8 and take a picture and then take the same scene with the same focus and turn it to like F16 and see which one tells your story the best that day. And maybe they both will. I also love using shooting through and layering as to discover natural framing. This picture of the magnolia bloom, obviously there were magnolia blooms in front, they were behind, they were all around, and I used them to encircle and really create a frame for my subject, which was this one that was in the light. Speaking of, as photographers and as viewers of art, our eye will go to the typically will go to the brightest part in the image. Sometimes when you're layering, there are parts of the layers that are bright and that will draw your eye away from the subject that you want. So obviously, I want you to look at this, but what if this one was super bright? So what I do, I am not a Photoshop person. In fact, I think I might even like not even have a functioning Photoshop at this current moment. I do use Lightroom, and so I just take a little brush in Lightroom and I would darken the areas that are bright. Here, these were super bright. I made them less bright, but they're still a little distracting. And I would just brush around them. So, and here too, these probably caught too much light, so I would brush over them so that they're not taking away from my subject. So the exercise for shooting through is to get outside, or I'm not sure where you live or if anything's growing yet. You can always take pictures of dead things. Dead grasses are really cool. But so get outside or get a bouquet of flowers. It's okay to buy yourself flowers. I do it weekly, bi-weekly. Um, but and pick things that there are multiples of, like baby's breath or those little tiny daisies. They usually have them in the grocery store. And I encourage you to get onto the level of the flower. So you're not looking from above, you're down there with it. And to observe how first just observe how do these layers fall, where is my eye drawn, and then where could I use framing, natural framing in this image. Then capture an image with a focus on an inner layer, so not the one that's right in front of you but one that's kind of in the middle, but then focus on the layer that's immediately in front of you and take the two images. You can do a side by side later, but maybe even play it back on the back of your camera. But think about, how does the story change? What that when I focus in directly in front of me and when I'm focusing deep into the layers. All righty. Dramatic light. Okay. Dramatic light is super fun. And this happens to be my kitchen. And at sunset, around this time of year, the light happens to come, this golden light comes in my kitchen window. Um, Please don't ask how many times my dinner burns because I get entranced by taking pictures of beautiful things in beautiful light and neglect the other responsibilities that I'm supposed to be doing. It's also funny too when my kids walk in from like a sports practice and I'm standing there in the kitchen in the dark and they're like, sometimes they almost turn on the light and they're like, oh, mom's doing her thing. And they just turn around and walk back out. But anyway, so dramatic light is obviously entrancing to me. And I took all three of these at the same time, the same moment. I did move this a little bit around, but when you think of dramatic light, you're thinking of direct light, right? Not diffused at all. The light is coming directly onto your subject. And how does that light highlight the details? A lot of people have mentioned how they love details in close-up photography. How are the shadows enhancing the details? And then can you use the light to minimize the background, like my messy countertop with kids' homework and, pens and water bottles and things sitting around? How can you use the dark places to minimize the distractions in the background? Um, in direct light is not always easy to find in nature, particularly if you live in a place that's cloudy a lot or that rains a lot. However, you can create direct light anytime, anywhere, basically, because you have a phone, and a phone has a flashlight on it. So at classes that I teach, workshops that I teach in person, I just have people use their phones to practice this technique. And some people bring their phone stands. You can use iPads. iPads have there are apps on iPads, free ones that are you just click search for soft boxes, and then you can change the color of the light. You can use candles, anything that is going to give you a direct light source on your subject. And think about how the darkness, because when you have light illuminating one specific spot on your subject, a lot of the subject's going to be dark. And how does that add to the mystery? Oftentimes, obviously, I use layering in this in this image as well, but this to me, this makes me think that these two flowers were reaching for each other. But who else is there? What else is there? What else is back there? Who else is growing around them? So that's that dramatic light story. And here is your homework for, I should call it exercises because I don't want you to feel like you'll get in trouble if you don't finish it. But use a flashlight, an iPad, and then you take three different images. One that is backlit. So that means that your subject is here and the light's here, and you're taking your picture into the light. The next one is side light. So say the light is over here and your subject's here. And the other one is direct light. So you and your subject are taking a pic are headed, you and your light source are headed right at the same direction toward your subject. And then take a pullback of the image of the scene and think about, ponder, maybe take notes on what feelings does the strong light evoke, and how does changing the light on the subject change the feelings? All righty, I'm going to pause there and see if there's anything in the chat. Any questions on any of those things? I lost their chat. Oh yeah, you totally can use the shoot through method with lens babies. Um, I did not say this at the beginning, but probably 95% of my images are done with Lensbaby. So yes, um, I always do. And I do use, like I said, like a shallower depth of field when I do those shooting through. Um, Yeah, Craig. Yes, I do sell my images. You can personal message me. I do have a website, and I'll share that at the end. But yes, you can buy my images. Sure. Um, yes. Okay. Oh man, there's so many questions here. The Focusing on the velvet. First, I'm going to encourage you to, I don't know what aperture you're using, but try not not below f4. I would encourage you to just start trying it like focusing at f6. Do make sure if you're using a DSLR that your diopter is set for your eye. Is it diopter? You know what I'm talking about. The thing that you look through. See how great I am with like technical terms. Um, Make sure that's set for your eye. If you have focus peaking on a mirrorless camera, turn that on because that's going to help you know what's in focus. And think about what's in focus is usually is in the center on a velvet. So start with a center composition. I know it might not be the way that you typically photograph things, but when you're learning how to use the velvet, now I just took a totally not center composition photo with my Velvet 85 yesterday. So you can, but I want you to encourage you when you're first learning. Those are my encouragements. And then, yeah, make sure your shutter speed's high enough, above 1/125 or faster. When I say a pullback, I just mean like, we're taking close up images. Like I mean like step back and then and take a picture of the whole scene and see, just examine where the light's falling and how different it is from an image that's super close up to pulled back. That's what I mean. Um, Somebody asked me this in my last class, and so I'm going to give you the same answer. My go-to lens is the Sol 45. Why? Because it's awesome. No, it is light, it's small, it's versatile. Um, it has these amazing, oh, okay, hold on. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Okay, it has these amazing bokeh blades, so you can slide them down, and if you're shooting into the sun, you can catch these super cool flares using the book. And if not, they add a really like painterly texture to your background. Um, Also, it tilts, so you can change your focal point. You can, oh, sorry, I'm like taking apart my whole thing, but you can change your focal point by tilting. See how it tilts? So you can move your focal point all around. That's awesome. It also is compatible with the macro filters and super easy to screw them on there. And then voila, you have close up. So that's why I love the Sol 45. I do love the Velvet lenses as well. But they're heavier. So I'm gonna say that one. Um, Personally, I don't often use handheld lights or flashlights. However, I do always love the effects that my students get in the workshops I teach. So I'm going to say, yeah, go for it. And maybe, maybe I will. Maybe you've just encouraged me. That's my homework. Okay, you've given me homework. I'm going to use a flashlight. Um, no, your Lensbaby lenses are all manual focus. You're doing the focusing, which for control freaks is awesome. Use the most. I think I answered that. And other ones that I do use the Composer Pro 2 a lot. And what I love about that is the optics just pop right in and out. And so you can use it with all kinds of different, I love the sweet lenses. I have this, like I said, I have the sweet 35 in there right now. Love the sweet 50. Yeah, all of them, sweet. But um, when I am going on a hike or I went to Costa Rica recently and I only took Lensbaby lenses. I took the Sol 45 and the Edge 50. And because I like the Edge for street photos. I like it for kind of landscapes with a slice of focus. So oh, thank you for telling me the diopter was correct. I start talking, then I'm like, oh my gosh, am I even saying the right thing? Mm, yeah, Sweet 22's this is similar in that um the focal point's in the middle and so just think, get your mind set when you go out that that is where your focal point needs to be. In your mind. I am just learning the Sweet 22 personally because I just got a mirrorless, but I've really been embracing it and I'm loving double exposures with it. So, in fact, I put some in this presentation. Yay for the Sol 45. Yay, the double glass too. Okay, so I was going to talk about that. I do have some double glass images in here. And favorite drop-in disc for that is the birds And they that just it makes me feel like I'm a painter and I'm not. So yeah, the double glass. And I use the Soul 45 for portraits too. Yeah, I took my daughter's senior picture portraits, and one of my favorite ones is with the Soul 45 with this amazing flare just coming down over her. Oh, that's a cool idea using the creative bokeh discs, using the yeah, I've never tried that, but I love those little drop-in discs. Um okay, I'm sorry I can't read all of these. Um no, the ISO will not adjust. You need to adjust, you'll have to adjust that yourself. So basically, yeah, you'll be in control. Um And I usually set my ISO first and then do the shutter speed. All right. Yay. Yay for unboxing the Sweet 22. Okay. The macro filters cannot be screwed on all of the Lensbaby lenses. They have to have the threads. So, they on some of the edges they will not work on. But they will work on like I said, the Soul 45 and a lot like the Twist 60 they work on the sweets. Um, okay. Wow. Okay. I'm going to get on to double exposures so we can just make sure that we get through it and I'm not keeping you guys too long. Okay. Double exposures. Current passion of mine. You do want to find the multiple exposure setting on your camera. If you don't have one, you can use, there are apps for that, but I do not use them. You want to take a base image. And if you have a DSLR, you want to use live view, you can use the digital viewfinder for mirrorless. And then you're going to take a picture on top of a picture, basically. Don't be afraid to turn the camera around. I would encourage you to underexpose the image as each image will let in more light. So this is a layered of layers of sunflower. This one is, I use the Omni over here, the Omni quilted films. These guys in the corner, and then I took a double exposure. So that's kind of combining two techniques, which I do often. And just in this one, obviously, I just moved slightly to get that feel. Um, one thing about double exposures is it's good to leave negative space. Obviously, you can see I really underexposed these two. Um, but I often like to create a close-up layer and then a blurred layer over top. And you want to fill in the dark areas with lighter areas. Um, Quick editing tips for double exposures. I do use the dehaze slider in Lightroom. If you don't know where it is, I encourage you to find it. And, excuse me, and it will really help to get your layers to pop from one another. And again, I'm not afraid to brush over areas that got too light in the double exposures. These are examples where you can move the camera just slightly to get this like sensation of moving. So this one I obviously moved up and down. This one I kind of moved to the side. Um, I have an awesome friend and creator, artist, Regina Boston, who inspired me to take this image. But you can use in double exposures droplets of water out of focus to create some texture. And I actually sprayed this tulip, this fading tulip with spritzed it with water droplets. And then this was my car. The snow had melted on my car in my garage, and it created all these like fun little droplets. And so I made them out of focus and layered them and got this image. Um, you can also use like grass, like with frost on it, or the dew droplets. You can make them out of focus. Mulch, believe it or not, creates some pretty cool text like bokeh texture. You can use wood or bark, but um, you can also make your textured layer in focus, but it may take away from your actual subject. So here is your exercise for double exposures. You take a base image, and here I took a blurry image, and you layer them on top of each other. Um, and here I used pulled back image. Again, that just means one that's further away. Or try a different angle and layer them on top of each other. And again, these were straight out of the camera, so they're pretty dark. And I obviously I warmed it up and lightened it up and used the dehaze to get that vibe. Here are just some quick editing hints. Um, I do decrease the highlights, especially with the dramatic light, so it brings out your details a little bit. I already talked about dehazing. Don't be afraid to spot remove things that are bright spots or things that are detracting from your image. And I already talked about brushing over. This one is actually a triple exposure with Omni quilted film over it. This is obviously the quilted film. But sometimes the films or the crystals will catch too much light or light that's detracting. So don't be afraid to brush over that. So this is just an example from my mom's backyard, and how you can use all the different techniques to create just a different feel in the same place. This one and this one both were using the Omni. It's a real gentle feel because it wasn't a super sunny day. Here, the dramatic light brought out the subject and everything else was dark. Here, you can feel the layering. There's layers in front and back. This was a double exposure, so it was this on top of this. And you can see how much closer, I used the same lens for all of this, which I don't remember what it was, so I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. But you can see how much closer I got with the reverse free lensing. Okay. I recognize that it is winter some places and spring some places and summer some places. So, that being said, I just wanted to throw out a couple like seasonal options. If for us, we are moving from winter in slowly into spring. There's been like two flowers that have bloomed so far. And all of them are really far down on the ground. So if you want to get close ups of them, you need to recognize that it's okay if you feel ridiculous laying in your neighbor's mulch, which is what I did yesterday, because that's how you get the rich close-up shot. So, I did try to opt on a time of day when I didn't think there were going to be like 500 teenagers walking down my street. But I did run into some walkers and they they kind of looked at me and I looked at them and I said, I found life down here. And they were so excited with me because we all found flowers and we're all excited about spring. That being said, maybe it's winter where you are still and will be for months. So just a couple ideas to spark your interest, maybe spark your creativity, finding droplets on wintergreens or leaves. Here's some wintergreens, pine in the forest. These were right outside my house. These were both taken with a velvet, and you can see how I used a different aperture and how like glowy this one is and how more crisp this one is. This one was reverse free lensed. And yes, I did get money on that one. And yeah, this one was taken in Costa Rica because it's like 70 degrees there and I could. So droplets are a beautiful way to add some richness to your close-up images. Pops of color. If it's still winter where you are, I would search for red berries. There are probably some still holding on and use them to contrast with the greens. This is with this Sweet 22, by the way. This is a Sweet 22 image. One of my first ones that I took. Um, with berries, you need to be careful of reflected, like sometimes these little reflections get a little too bright, so just take that into account. If you can't find anything that has color outside, go to a greenhouse. because that's where I got this one. I found color there. I searched for it. And buds. This is a bud, and obviously it's in some dramatic light, so the whole background is out of focus, or not out of focus, is dark. And this was also taken with a velvet lens. Double exposures are also super fun to do in the winter. I like layering the lines. So obviously these are just like a concoction of leaves. But when they are layered together, I think they add like they have this like mysterious, rich, wonder-filled story. And then pine, I had one going this way, one the needles were going this way. When you crisscross them, I feel like they add this almost sense that it's shaking. One more seasonal option is sunsets. A good and bad thing about wintertime here is that the sun sets early. So, but sometimes they can be absolutely, these early sunsets can be absolutely beautiful. This one was taken with a double glass, and you can see how rich and painterly the background was. This one, I used we were talking about putting different kinds of sparkly things in front of your lens. And this was a Christmas decoration. It was a grass that had like sparkles on it, which made my house messy. All right, glitter is like, I don't know, everything with glitter. But anyway, glitter was fun in the sunlight with the leaves. So I just kind of waved it in front of my lens, and that's what turned out. So another good thing about sunset is it doesn't last that long. And so if it's cold outside, there's no pressure to like be out there forever. You can just take a couple pictures and then hop back in your warm, toasty car or house. Okay, that is the most most of the um, presentation. I'm gonna pop back over.
That was great. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. First
Sure
and
thing.
foremost, guys, if you in the chat can just drop a thank you, some hearts, some clapping
Oh,
hands, give it up for Elizabeth. That a phenomenal, phenomenal presentation. Even, I mean, I've been here for a decade, been business partners in Lensbaby for so long, and even I learned tonight, right? So,
okay.
thank you so much for that. Lots and lots in the chat. Obviously, so much love, amazing. Thank you,
Oh,
guys. I know real quick before we hop in the Q&A, we
yeah.
did have a special slide for everyone that I'd love for you to
Yes.
share.
Let me
And
get
then
there.
let's hop into the Q&A because in the Q&A we do have some questions. I will read them out and answer them there with you.
Okay.
So
So
guys,
yeah.
just as a super special thank you, I'll let Elizabeth announce this and let you know.
Yeah, so for you all being here this evening and investing in yourself, in your expression, and in making the world a more beautiful place through your art, Lensbaby is offering a discount code. They're offering $50 off when you use this code, LB Lensbaby webinar. Um, and it is $50 off your purchase, and it is valid for 6 months from today. So don't hesitate too long, but do take some time to explore what Lens Babies items you may that may express what you envision the world to be. And if you need help with that, obviously, there is Michael, there is me, there are other Lensbaby trailblazers, and there is also customer happiness. They are awesome at Lensbaby, who can help guide you especially if you need answers on specs on things, on what connects with your camera or what would be best for this. They are awesome with that. So I do encourage you to screenshot this, or however you're going to remember it, write it down so that you can grab that code. And before we go into the Q&A, I will just throw up my since we're basically wrapping up. Oops, wrong direction. Um, this is where you can contact me. My last name has two L's. My last name has two L's. So it is an uncommon spelling of a very common name, Elizabeth Willson with two L's photography. It's basically everywhere. It's my Gmail, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and website is all Elizabeth Wilson with two L's photography. And that is where you can find me. I would love if you would connect with me, share with me, give me feedback on things that you liked about this, things that were not great. I'm open to it all because, of course, we all want to get better in the way that we express ourselves and share our passion. And I do also want to leave, if you have to leave now, I do want to leave you with the encouragement and truth that the world needs your art. And if you are thinking about, oh, should I share this? Or it's not really that good. First of all, thank you for creating. It is so important to create. Our world needs your creation. And you never know who you're going to touch. It's that one person that your image encourages or brings light or hope or peace or emotion or comfort to that day. So I would encourage you to share your art because even if it's just with a friend. I was thinking of you. This image made me think of you. I hope it brightens your day, kind of thing. People, we all need it. We all need it. So thank you for being an artist and being brave enough to create. It is I know that every creation you're bringing part of yourself into it. So thank you for doing that, for being vulnerable and for sharing your art with the world and with us. Okay. Um, that
Well
said,
said.
the chat is, oh, I don't know how to get to it. Okay.
So Elizabeth, here's my thought. Since we are
Yes.
over time, and I want to make sure we can get to as many of these as we can in the next few minutes, I'm going to read a bunch off, and then there's some in here I'm going to answer from the Q&A because we have about 25 in the actual Q&A,
Woo.
and
Oh,
then
geez.
plus whatever's in the chat. So
Okay.
first, I'm just going to read them as I'm seeing them here. So Darcy asks, are the macro filters available on the site? They are. If you do not see them, you guys can email customerhappiness@lensbaby.com or use our little chat down there, and they will be able to assist you. And then I did throw into the chat, there is a direct link to the $50 gift card that we are giving you for participating in the webinar this evening. Holly asked, are there any new lenses on the horizon that you can speak of? I cannot speak of such things, so you will just have to wait and find out. But great question. One of the things is we're always working on fun new things here at Lensbaby. Amy, I assume I might have got that right. Will there be a way to reference this webinar? There will be. There will be a replay that we will be sharing soon. We have to get everything uploaded back to the website and do all the things on the back end. But yes, we will be doing that for sure. Can you, Stefano, the record man says, can you share what lenses are good for video production? Pretty much every single Lensbaby is good for video because they are all manual focus lenses. And so if you are pulling focus, you can do that very well with Lensbaby lenses. I'm going to throw to the top just because there's so many coming out the bottom. Is Darcy said, is Lensbaby selling the macro lenses separately? So we have so many lenses that have the macro capability. So if you go to lensbaby.com and you check out the effects of each lens, you will, and optic for that matter, you will see exactly what is the best for macro. Personal favorites, I think you can't go wrong with the Velvet 56. You definitely cannot go wrong also with the Edge 80. That's my personal favorite. I know a lot of people don't love the Edge, but that one I am a huge fan of. And then let's see, just banging through some of these real quick. I'm sure you answered this, Elizabeth, but I'll ask you again. Do you have a favorite Lensbaby?
Yeah, so I was talking about the Soul 45. So yeah,
Mm.
so I don't know. I think that one's my go-to. Somebody asked what my go-to was, and I say my go-to and my favorite are going to be the same. So I'm going to go
Mhm.
with Soul 45.
Yeah,
Um,
huge fan.
yeah.
And then Michelle says the Obscura is one I just can't seem to get good photos with. One of the things you have to understand about the Obscura is you need a ton of light. This is a very traditional pinhole style lens. If you don't have a ton of light coming in there, you're just not going to get what you want out of it. So if you go to our YouTube or even to the lensbaby.com website and look at the videos on the Obscura page, you can definitely learn more about that. Let me see if there's a few more here. Just a quick question about the first image in the season option for multiple exposures. Do you use the blend modes for multiple exposures? If you do, what did you use for that one? So if you go to the first image in your season option.
I don't know. Was it this? I don't, I just use the basic multiple exposure modes. I don't get into all of the blending things. So, but so I'm sorry, I can't answer your question on that one. Um, and I don't really do double exposures post processing. Like I said, I don't use Photoshop. So, these are just done in camera.
Well, that's perfect because Yvonne just asked, how do you stack your photos if you do not use Photoshop? And that's one of the best parts about Lensbaby and what you can do in camera, especially with many of the mirrorless cameras now. You can do amazing double exposures. I
Yeah,
mean, I was trying to do double exposures on like a D4500, and it just was not that easy over a decade ago. And now it's like it's built into most cameras as a mode.
yeah,
So
it is super and it's super fun and it's kind of addicting. So
yeah,
get ready for it to be addicted.
it
I'm
is
like, I can't
definitely
even take
super
normal
fun.
pictures anymore. Okay, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Quickly, so Marianne said, can you show me how to get my double glass 2 out of the Composer Pro? Do you have a Composer Pro with you right there,
yeah,
Elizabeth, with an optic in it? So one of the things you guys have to know is you don't have to treat lens babies very fragilely, if
right,
that's a word. You have to actually push and turn. Push
right.
and turn. You cannot be afraid to give it a little bit of energy.
So if you have it down like this, you're not going to get it out. So wind it up and then push. Well, yeah. I had it out there. It's
There it
out.
is. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm usually down here doing it, not up here.
Yeah.
But so
Same.
it's really not that, it really wasn't that hard to get out. I'm
Yep.
going to do it again because I'm trying to do it up here. But yeah, see, push and turn. Yeah.
Yep. So I want to say thank you. We're going to call it right now for
Yeah.
all of you who have shown up and been here this evening. It's amazing. It means the world to us. Lensbaby Presents is something we're going to continue to do monthly throughout 2025 and bring to all of you amazing photography education. Obviously, Elizabeth, if you will throw up your contact slide again, please. Just I
Sure.
want people to be able to reach out and find you. To everyone, you can find Lensbaby everywhere at Lensbaby USA. That is on Instagram, TikTok, pretty much everywhere we exist. And of course, go to lensbaby.com. We will have a replay available for this here in the next day or two, possibly even Monday. And when we do, we will send it to you in an email. We appreciate you all. Thank you all so much. And until next time, shoot extraordinary. We will see you all soon. Good night.
Thank you so much.